A poor girl spots a hurt man bleeding on the road after robbers attack him. Everyone drives by, but she risks everything to help. What danger awaits her now? Subscribe and let's enjoy this story together. Chioma rubbed her eyes and sat up on the thin mat she shared with her two little brothers, Kofi and Temi. The room was so small that their mom, Mrs. Adewale, slept on the other side, curled up like a question mark. The air smelled of yesterday's rice and the damp from last night's rain leaking through the cracked roof. Chioma was only 19, but she felt like she carried the weight of the whole world on her slim shoulders. "Mama, time to wake up," Chioma whispered, shaking her mother's arm gently. Mrs. Adewale groaned, her face lined with worry even in sleep. Ever since Papa died 3 years ago in a factory accident, life had been like walking on a tightrope over a deep pit. No safety net, just one wrong step away from falling. Chioma slipped out of the room quietly, careful not to wake the boys. Outside, the city was already buzzing. Lagos, Nigeria, never really slept. Horns blared from cars stuck in traffic, street sellers shouted about their fresh bread, and the sun peeked over the tall buildings like it was spying on everyone. But for Chioma, the day meant work. Endless work. She hurried to her tiny sewing corner in the market nearby. It wasn't much, just a rickety table under a faded umbrella, with her old sewing machine that hummed like an angry bee. Chioma was a seamstress, fixing clothes and making simple dresses for people who could afford a little extra. Her fingers flew over the fabric, stitching hems and buttons with skill that came from years of practice. But no matter how fast she walked, the money never seemed enough. By noon, her stomach growled like a wild animal. She had skipped breakfast to save the last bit of bread for her brothers. Just a little longer, she told herself, ignoring the ache. A customer, Mrs. Obi, dropped off a torn skirt. "Fix it quick, eh? I need it for church tomorrow," the woman said, tossing a few coins on the table. Chioma nodded with a smile, even though the coins wouldn't buy more than a handful of beans. As she sewed, her mind wandered. What if she could have a real shop? With bright lights and shelves full of colorful fabrics. But dreams like that felt far away, like stars you could see but never touch. Suddenly, a cry echoed from across the market. Old Mr. Is, the fruit seller, had tripped over a pothole, spilling his oranges everywhere. People laughed or stepped around him, too busy to help. But not Chioma. Her heart twisted like a knot. She dropped her needle and ran over. "Uncle Is, are you okay?" she asked, kneeling to help him up. His knee was scraped, blood trickling down. "Oh, Chioma, my dear. Always the kind one," he said, wincing. She tore a strip from an old rag in her bag and wrapped his knee. Then she gathered his oranges, one by one, even as cars zoomed by, kicking up dust. "Here, take this," she said, pressing a coin, half of what she'd earned that morning, into his hand. "For some ointment." "But child, you need it more," he protested. Chioma shook her head. "Kindness doesn't cost what you think." Deep down, though, she wondered, why did helping others feel so good, yet leave her even emptier? Back at her table, the afternoon dragged on. A storm cloud gathered overhead, mirroring the storm in her chest. What if they couldn't pay rent this month? The landlord had already warned them twice. Eviction loomed like a shadow, whispering fears in her ear. Chioma pictured her brother's big eyes, full of trust. "Sisi, when will we eat meat again?" Kofi had asked last night. She had hugged him tight, hiding her tears. As the sun dipped lower, Chioma packed up her things. She had one last delivery, a dress for a fancy lady in the rich part of town. The walk would take her past those huge mansions with gates like fortresses. She always wondered who lived there. Kings. Queens. People who never worried about empty plates. On the way home first, she stopped by the apartment. Her mom was stirring a pot of thin soup over a small stove. Temi clung to her skirt, while Kofi played with a broken toy car. "Chioma, my angel," her mom said, her voice weak but warm. "How was the day?" "Busy, Mama. Here's what I made." Chioma handed over the remaining coins, keeping nothing for herself. Her mom's eyes filled with tears. "You work too hard. I wish I could do more, but my back." She trailed off, rubbing her aching spine from years of washing clothes for others. Chioma hugged her. "We'll be fine, Mama. God sees our struggles." But inside, doubt gnawed at her. Was God really watching? Or were they just forgotten in this big, noisy city? The boys ran to her, giggling. "Sisi, tell us a story," Temi begged. Chioma sat on the mat, pulling them close. "Once upon a time, there was a brave girl who fought dragons every day. The dragons were hunger and fear, but she had a magic heart that made her strong." As she spoke, her voice wove magic into the room. The boys' eyes widened, hanging on every word. But halfway through, a knock banged on the door. Chioma's heart skipped. Was it the landlord? She opened it cautiously. It was Auntie Laura from next door, looking frantic. "Chioma, my baby is sick. Fever high like fire. I have no money for the clinic." Without thinking, Chioma grabbed her delivery bag. "Take this," she said, giving Auntie Laura the last of her coins, meant for tomorrow's thread. "Get medicine quick." Auntie Laura hugged her tight. "You're a blessing, child. One day, good will come back to you." As the door closed, Chioma leaned against it, exhausted. Her hands trembled. How would she buy thread now? The delivery dress was her last hope for the week. But seeing Auntie Lara's relief, it warmed something deep inside her, like a hidden fire. Night fell, and Chioma lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The city lights flickered through the window like distant promises. She thought about her papa, how he used to say, "Kindness is the seed that grows unexpected fruits." But what if the ground was too dry? What if nothing grew? Little did she know, tomorrow would bring a twist she never saw coming. A hurt stranger on a lonely road. A choice that could shatter her world, or rebuild it. The rain started pattering on the roof, like fingers tapping a secret code. Chioma closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. "Please, let tomorrow be better." But in her dreams, shadows chased her, whispering, "What if it's worse?" The road was quiet, too quiet, like the world was holding its breath before a scream. Mr. David Okon gripped the steering wheel of his sleek black SUV, his sharp hazel eyes scanning the empty stretch ahead. It was barely dawn, and the Lagos sky was still a sleepy purple. He was coming back from a business trip, his mind heavy with deals and dollars. But something felt wrong. Was someone watching him? David, a 50-year-old Nigerian businessman with deep ebony skin, a strong jawline framed by a neatly trimmed beard, and a muscular 6-foot frame, adjusted his expensive suit jacket. His short, salt and pepper hair glinted under the dashboard light. Success had made him a target before, but he'd always been careful. Not today. As he rounded a bend on the lonely road, two cars roared out of nowhere. Their headlights blazed like angry eyes. David's heart jumped. "Not now," he muttered, slamming the gas pedal. The SUV surged, but the cars were faster, closing in like wolves. One swerved in front, forcing him to brake hard. The other boxed him in from behind. He was trapped. Tires screeched as the car stopped. Four men jumped out, their faces hidden by dark masks. They moved like they'd done this 100 times. David fumbled for his phone, but a fist smashed through his window, glass spraying like sharp rain. "Out! Now," a rough voice barked. David raised his hands, his mind racing. "Take what you want," he said, trying to stay calm. But his voice shook. The men didn't care. They yanked open the door, dragged him onto the gravel, and the world turned to pain. Fists and boots rained down. His ribs cracked. Blood stung his eyes. They tore his watch, wallet, and briefcase from him, laughing as they jumped back into his SUV and sped off with the other car, leaving dust and silence. David lay crumpled by the roadside, his fine suit torn, his broad shoulders heaving as he gasped for air. The morning was waking up now. Cars zipped by, sedans, buses, taxis, full of people heading to work. He raised a weak hand, blood dripping from his brow. "Help," he croaked. But no one stopped. Faces glanced from windows, then looked away. The world kept moving, cold and indifferent. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, time blurred with pain. David's strength was fading, his hazel eyes dimming. He thought of his mansion, his staff, his empire. What did it all mean if he died here, alone? His fingers dug into the dirt, clinging to life. Was this how it ended? Then, a shadow fell over him. Soft footsteps crunched on gravel. A young woman knelt beside him, her warm medium-brown skin glowing in the early sun. It was Chioma Adewale, 19, her dark brown almond eyes wide with shock but steady with purpose. Her black cornrows, neatly braided to her shoulders, framed her gentle oval face with high cheekbones and full lips now set in a determined line. Her slender 5 feet 6 inches frame, clad in a simple faded wrapper and blouse, crouched low as she whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Chioma's heart pounded. She was late for a delivery, her last coins jangling in her pocket for thread she couldn't afford to skip. But this man, his blood, his shallow breaths, pulled at her like a magnet. She tore a strip from her wrapper, the fabric ripping loudly in the quiet. Gently, she pressed it to his bleeding head, her hands trembling but sure. "Stay with me," she said, her voice soft but firm. David blinked up at her, his vision blurry. Was she real? Her kindness felt like a dream in this nightmare. Chioma ran to a nearby stream, her worn sandals slipping on rocks. She scooped water into a small bottle from her bag, splashing back to pour it over his face, washing away dirt and blood. His groans grew quieter as she helped him sit up against a tree, her slender arms stronger than they looked. "You're going to be okay," she told him, though her own fears screamed inside. What if the robbers came back? What if she got in trouble? But her papa's words echoed, "Kindness is a seed." She couldn't walk away. Chioma dug into her pocket, pulling out her last coins, meant for her family's dinner. She hesitated, her stomach twisting. Kofi's hopeful eyes flashed in her mind, asking for meat. But this man needed her more. She sprinted to a roadside store, the vendor's eyes narrowing at her urgency. "Medicine and bread," she said, handing over everything. The vendor shook his head but gave her what she asked. Back at David's side, she broke the bread, feeding him small bites. "Eat slow," she said, her smile warm but worried. She dabbed ointment on his cuts, her fingers gentle. David's hazel eyes locked on her, a spark of gratitude cutting through his pain. Why are you helping me?" he rasped. Chioma shrugged, her full lips curving slightly. "Because it's right." But inside, doubt gnawed. She was late now. The customer would be angry. Her family would go hungry tonight. Had she made a mistake? As the sun climbed higher, Chioma helped David stand, his tall frame leaning heavily on her. "There's a clinic nearby," she said. "I'll get you there." Every step was slow, his weight pressing on her shoulders. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she didn't complain. Cars kept passing, horns blaring, faces staring. Still, no one stopped. David's mind churned. He wasn't just a businessman, he was the David Okon, owner of half the city's biggest deals. Yet here he was, broken, saved by a girl who looked like she had nothing. Shame mixed with awe. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice weak. "Chioma," she said simply, her eyes focused on the road ahead. She didn't ask his name. It didn't matter. To her, he was just a man who needed help. They reached the clinic, a small building with peeling paint. Chioma eased him onto a bench outside, her breath short. "Wait here," she said. "They'll take care of you." She wanted to stay, but her delivery loomed, and her family's faces pulled at her heart. David grabbed her hand, his grip surprisingly strong. "I won't forget this," he said, his hazel eyes burning into hers. Chioma nodded, unsure what he meant. She turned to go, her torn wrapper flapping, her coins gone, her heart heavy but strangely full. As she walked away, David watched her fade into the crowd. His pain throbbed, but something else stirred, a fire. This girl, this stranger, had saved him when the world turned its back. Who was she? And why did her face feel like a promise he couldn't yet understand? The road stretched ahead, dusty and unforgiving. Chioma's footsteps echoed with purpose, but a chill ran through her. Something big was coming. She could feel it, like the air before a storm. Would it lift her up, or break her completely? The Lagos sun climbed higher, turning the air thick and sticky. Chioma Adewale hurried along the dusty road, her heart racing like a drum. She was late for her delivery, and her torn wrapper flapped where she'd ripped it to save a stranger. Her warm medium-brown skin glistened with sweat, her dark brown almond eyes darting with worry. Her neat cornrows, reaching her shoulders, bounced as she walked, her soft oval face tight with fear. What if the customer refused to pay? Her slender 5 feet 6 inches frame felt heavier with every step, weighed down by an empty pocket and a hungry family waiting at home. The man she'd helped, his bloodied face, his weak voice, stayed in her mind. Why had she given everything? Her papa's words whispered again, kindness is a seed. But seeds needed time to grow, and her family needed food now. Chioma's full lips pressed tight, her high cheekbones sharp with tension. She pictured Kofi and Temi, their big eyes trusting her to bring something home. Doubt clawed at her chest like a trapped bird. She reached the customer's house, a small gated place in a noisy neighborhood. The woman, Mrs. Afolabi, stood at the door, arms crossed. "You're late, Chioma," she snapped, her voice sharp as a blade. Chioma handed over the neatly folded dress, her hands trembling. "I'm sorry, Ma. There was an emergency." Mrs. Afolabi's eyes narrowed, scanning Chioma's torn wrapper. "Excuses. I should pay less for this." Chioma's heart sank, but she nodded, accepting half the promised money. It wasn't enough for dinner, let alone thread. Walking back, Chioma's steps slowed. The city buzzed, horns blaring, vendors shouting, kids laughing, but it felt like a different world. Her slender arms hugged her bag, her mind spinning. Had she been foolish? She'd saved a man but lost her family's meal. Yet his hazel eyes, full of gratitude, burned in her memory. She shook her head, trying to focus. She'd passed by the clinic to check on him, just to be sure he was okay. It wasn't far. The clinic was busier now, with people milling outside its peeling walls. Chioma scanned the benches, her breath catching. There he was, David Okon, the man she'd helped. But he looked different. His deep ebony skin was cleaned, his salt and pepper short hair tidy. His strong rectangular face, with its prominent jaw and trimmed beard, showed less pain, though bruises lingered. His muscular 6-foot frame sat upright in a fresh shirt, not the torn suit from before. His sharp hazel eyes lit up when he saw her, a smile breaking through. "Chioma," he called, standing with a wince. She froze, her oval face flushing. How did he look so important? "You came back," he said, his voice warm but rough from pain. Chioma nodded, her full lips parting to speak, but words stuck. "I just wanted to check," she mumbled, her almond eyes dropping to her worn sandals. David stepped closer, his broad shoulders casting a shadow. "You saved my life," he said, his gaze intense. No one else stopped. "Why you?" Chioma shrugged, her cornrows swaying. "It's what anyone should do," she said softly, but her heart whispered doubts. Was it worth it? Her empty hands answered no, but his grateful look said yes. He gestured to a bench, and they sat. The clinic's noise faded as David spoke. "I'm not just anyone," he said, his bearded jaw tightening. "I owe you more than you know." Chioma's eyes widened. What did he mean? Her slender fingers twisted her torn wrapper, her mind racing. Was he someone important? A flicker of hope sparked, but fear snuffed it out. Promises were easy to make. As she stood to leave, David's voice stopped her. "Come to this address tomorrow," he said, scribbling on a paper. "You'll see." Chioma took it, her hands shaking. The address was in the rich part of town, near those mansions she'd always passed. Her almond eyes met his hazel ones, searching for truth. Was this a blessing or a trap? She turned away, her heart pounding like the city itself. Tomorrow would tell. The morning sun painted Lagos gold, but Chioma Adewale's heart pounded with a mix of hope and fear. Clutching the scribbled address, she walked toward the rich part of town, her warm medium brown skin damp with nervous sweat. Her dark brown almond eyes scanned the paper, her neat shoulder-length cornrows swaying. Her soft oval face, with high cheekbones and full lips, was set in quiet resolve, though her slender 5 feet 6 inches frame in a patched wrapper trembled. The address led to that street, where mansions loomed like castles she'd never dared enter. Was this a trick? The city's noise faded as she entered the elite area. Towering gates and manicured gardens replaced the crowded markets. Chioma's sandals crunched on clean pavement, her torn wrapper out of place among sleek cars. She stopped at a massive gate, its iron gleaming. Her almond eyes widened, her breath catching. Was this the place? Her fingers gripped the paper, her mind racing. What did that man, David, want? His hazel eyes had promised something, but promises could break. She knocked, her slender hand shaking. A guard appeared, eyeing her warm clothes. "What do you want?" he asked gruffly. Chioma swallowed, her full lips parting. "Mr. David, he told me to come." The guard frowned but opened the gate. Chioma stepped into a world she'd never imagined. A sprawling mansion stood before her, white walls glowing, windows sparkling like diamonds. Flowers bloomed in perfect rows, and a fountain bubbled softly. Her heart thumped louder than the city ever had. Inside, the air was cool, scented with polish. Chioma's eyes darted, taking in marble floors and chandeliers. Then she saw him, David Okon, standing tall at the grand staircase. His deep ebony skin shone under soft light, his sharp hazel eyes looking onto her with a warm smile. His salt and pepper short hair was neat, his strong rectangular face with its prominent jaw and trimmed beard commanding yet kind. His muscular 6-foot frame, now in a fine traditional agbada, moved toward her with steady steps, no trace of yesterday's wounds. "Chioma," he said, his voice rich and steady. "Welcome." She froze, her oval face flushing. Her almond eyes dropped to the polished floor, her hands twisting her wrapper. I don't understand," she stammered. Why was he here, in this palace? David gestured to a plush sofa, and she sat, her slender frame stiff with unease. Her high cheekbones bent as she felt small in this grand room. David sat across, his hazel eyes steady. "This is my home," he said. "I'm David Okon, a businessman. Yesterday, you saved me when no one else would." Chioma's lips parted, her mind spinning. He wasn't just a stranger, he was this man, the kind who owned mansions. Her heart raced with awe and fear. "I didn't know," she whispered, her almond eyes searching his face. Was he angry? Grateful? Dangerous? He leaned forward, his bearded jaw set. You didn't ask who I was. You just helped. That's rare. His voice softened, but his gaze held weight. Chioma's fingers tightened on her wrapper, her slender arms tense. She thought of her family, Kofi, Temi, her mother, waiting in their tiny room. Had her kindness led her to something bigger, or was this a dream that would vanish? David stood, his broad shoulders casting a shadow. Come tomorrow, he said. Bring your family. I want them to hear what I owe you. Chioma's eyes widened, her full lips trembling. Bring her family. To this place. Her mind flashed to Kofi's playful grin, Temi's dimples, her mother's tired eyes. What did he mean to do? Hope flickered, but doubt lingered like a shadow. As she left, the gate clanged shut behind her. The paper burned in her hand, the address now a promise and a mystery. Her almond eyes glanced back at the mansion, her heart pounding like a drum. Was this the seed her papa spoke of, finally sprouting? Or was it a storm waiting to crash? Tomorrow would reveal the truth, and Chioma wasn't sure she was ready. The next morning, the Lagos sun was gentler, as if it knew something big was coming. Chioma Adewale stood at the mansion's towering gate, her heart thumping like a festival drum. Her warm medium-brown skin glowed softly, her dark brown almond eyes flickering with nervous hope. Her neat shoulder-length cornrows framed her soft oval face, high cheekbones tight with anticipation, full lips whispering a prayer. Her slender 5'6" frame, clad in her best, yet still patched, wrapper, trembled as she held the hands of her family. Was this the moment her papa's seed would bloom? Beside her, Mrs. Adewale, 45, clutched a worn shawl. Her deep chocolate brown skin showed weariness, her warm brown round eyes misty with disbelief. Grey-streaked hair tucked under a headscarf, her weathered square face softened with cautious hope. Her curvy 5'4" body stood straighter, though her hands shook. Kofi, 8, with rich dark brown skin, bright black wide eyes sparkling with excitement, a short 2-inch afro bouncing, and a chubby round face grinning, tugged at Chioma's wrapper. His slim 4'2" frame in hand-me-down shorts danced with energy. The gate swung open, revealing David Okon. His deep ebony skin shone under the sun, sharp hazel eyes warm with purpose. His salt and pepper short hair was neat, his strong rectangular face with a prominent jaw and trimmed beard commanding respect. His muscular 6-foot frame, draped in a regal blue border, strode forward. Welcome, he said, his voice rich. Chioma's almond eyes met his, her breath catching. Her family followed, awestruck, into the mansion's gleaming marble foyer, where chandeliers twinkled like stars. Inside, David led them to a grand hall filled with his staff and family. Polished floors reflected light, and velvet curtains framed tall windows. Chioma's slender frame stiffened, her full lips parting in awe. Mrs. Adewale's round eyes widened, her square face trembling with emotion. Kofi and Temi gaped, their young faces alight with wonder, Kofi's afro bobbing as he whispered, "Is this a palace?" David smiled, his hazel eyes softening, and gestured for them to sit on plush chairs. He stood before the crowd, his broad shoulders squared. "This is Chioma Adewale," he began, his bearded jaw firm. "Yesterday, I was beaten and robbed, left to die on the roadside. Cars passed. People looked away. But Chioma stopped." His voice cracked, his eyes locking on her. "She tore her wrapper, spent her last coins, and saved my life." Chioma's cheeks burned, her almond eyes dropping. Her slender hands twisted her wrapper, her heart racing with humility and fear. Was this real? Mrs. Adewale's eyes filled with tears, her curvy frame leaning forward. Kofi and Temi stared, their wide and oval eyes shining with pride. David continued, "I'm David Okon, and I owe her everything." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others whispering. Chioma's oval face flushed deeper, her high cheekbones tight. She hadn't known he was this man, a billionaire whose name echoed in Lagos. David turned to her, his hazel eyes intense. "Your kindness deserves more than words," he said. "I'll sponsor your brother's education, best schools, full scholarships." Kofi's chubby face lit up, his afro bouncing as he clapped. Temi's dimples deepened, his petite frame wiggling. "For you, Chioma, a fashion business, your own shop, machines, staff." Chioma's lips parted, her almond eyes wide with disbelief. "And for your mother," David added, "a comfortable home, no more worries." Mrs. Adewale gasped, her square face crumpling as she sobbed, her headscarf slipping. The room erupted in applause, but Chioma's slender frame froze. Her mind spun, schools, a shop, a home. It was too much. Her full lips trembled, her eyes searching David's face. Was this a dream? Her mother gripped her hand, her round eyes grateful. Kofi and Temi hugged her, their small bodies warm. David's bearded jaw softened, his 6-foot frame kneeling to meet her gaze. "You changed my life," he said. "Now let me change yours." As they left, the mansion's gates closed behind them. Chioma's heart soared, but a whisper of doubt lingered. Could kindness really rewrite her story? The Lagos dawn broke softly, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Chioma Adewale stood outside her family's new home, a modest but steady house gifted by David Okon, its fresh paint gleaming under the morning light. Her warm medium-brown skin shimmered with sweat and pride, her dark brown almond eyes glistening with gratitude. Her neat shoulder-length cornrows framed her soft oval face, her cheekbones lifted in a quiet smile, full lips whispering thanks to the heavens. Her slender 5 feet 6 inches frame, now in a new wrapper vibrant with green patterns, stood tall, hands clasped tightly. This was no mirage, it was real. Mrs. Adewale, 45, stepped out, her deep chocolate brown skin glowing with renewed vigor. Her warm brown round eyes sparkled, free of their usual weariness. Grey streaked hair peeked from her headscarf, her weathered square face beaming as she adjusted her shawl over her curvy 5 feet 4 inches frame. "Chioma, look at this place," she said, her voice trembling with joy. Kofi, 8, bounded out, his rich dark brown skin vibrant, bright black wide eyes dancing with excitement. His 2-inch afro bounced as his chubby round face grinned, his slim 4 feet 2 inches body in a crisp school uniform darting to explore the small garden. Temi, 6, followed, his smooth medium brown skin shining, deep brown oval eyes wide with wonder. His short cropped curls bobbed, dimpled heart-shaped face alight as his petite 3 feet 10 inches frame in matching uniform chased Kofi, giggling. Chioma's heart swelled, but a flicker of doubt lingered. Could this last? She walked to her new shop nearby, a clean space with glass windows and humming sewing machines. Inside, bolts of colorful fabric lined the walls, and 2 assistants greeted her warmly. Her almond eyes widened, her full lips parting in awe. She ran her slender fingers over a machine, its metal cool and solid. This was hers, a dream born from a torn wrapper. Yet her high cheekbones tensed. What if she failed? Her papa's words echoed, "Kindness is a seed." She inhaled deeply, pushing doubt aside. Back at the house, David Okon arrived in a sleek black car. His deep ebony skin gleamed, sharp hazel eyes warm with satisfaction. His salt and pepper short hair was neat, his strong rectangular face with prominent jaw and trimmed beard set in a proud smile. His muscular 6-foot frame, now in a tailored suit, stepped out, holding a folder. "Chioma," he called, his voice rich. She hurried over, her wrapper swishing, her oval face flashing. Mrs. Adewale joined, her round eyes curious. David handed Chioma the folder. "Your business papers," he said. "All legal, all yours." Her slender hands trembled as she opened it, her almond eyes scanning the documents. "Her shop, her future, official. And for your brothers," he added, pulling out scholarship certificates. Kofi clapped, his wide eyes shining, his slim frame bouncing. Temi's oval eyes glowed, his petite body wiggling. Mrs. Adewale's square face crumpled, tears falling as she hugged David, her curvy frame shaking. "God bless you," she whispered, her head scarf slipping. David's hazel eyes softened, his bearded jaw relaxing. "You raised a daughter who saved me," he replied. Chioma's full lips quivered, her heart racing. She looked at David, her almond eyes searching his face. "Why so much?" she asked softly. He leaned forward, his 6-foot frame towering yet gentle. "Because you saw a man, not a title," he said. "That's worth everything." Her high cheekbones flushed deeper, her slender frame still. She thought of the roadside, his bloodied face, her last coins. It had seemed foolish then, but now it felt like fate. As David left, the family gathered in their new living room, its walls bare but full of promise. Mrs. Adewale sat, her round eyes bright, her shawl draped loosely. Kofi and Temi sprawled on the floor, chattering about school. Chioma stood by the window, her wrapper catching the light, her almond eyes gazing at the horizon. Lagos bustled beyond, horns, voices, life, but here, it was quiet. Her heart felt full yet fragile, like a seed newly sprouted. Evening fell, the sky now deep purple. Chioma stepped outside, her slender fingers brushing the garden's flowers. Her oval face softened, her full lips curving into a determined smile. The doubt was fading, replaced by resolve. Her shop would thrive. Her brothers would learn. Her mother would rest. Her purple seed had grown into a tree, its roots deep in her kindness. She looked up, stars emerging, and whispered, "Thank you." The city hummed, but Chioma felt steady. This was no mirage, it was a new dawn, and she was ready to embrace it.